attractive girl in her at parties and things. He said they were actually beautiful. He drank a lot, right? Still does, right? That's the deal. So he said maybe you took the girls out on your boat, and you know, it's like, you want to see my boat, honey? Well, we thought maybe you used Phil and those famous date line. Remember Phil and those lines? What was it?
There you go.
Haven't you ever been on a date before? Lie down. We have a roast, you guys don't want to miss Phil and those roasts. He's a legend, the monster.
He used to drink Cherokol D and brandy, which had codeine in it at the time.
When he wasn't
Yeah.
too drunk, when he wasn't too drunk, he could bite.
In those days.
Yes.
Broke glass.
Oh, yeah.
Actually bite him and not cut his mouth.
Yeah.
But he wasn't always. not too
And now he's
He was a character. But there's hope for you guys, because he actually just retired as he was a full professor at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And actually invited him to come the last couple of times, but he said, I'm trying to forget that part. I forgot he said that. He doesn't know us, and he doesn't want his kids to know us. Well, George attended URI from 1959 to 1963 and graduated with a degree in history. And 1963 was a turbulent time, you know, in our country. And, everybody was questioning everything. Like, and, actually, the history majors, like George, the question they were asking, do you want fries with that? George took 4 years of ROTC, was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Army, and graduated in 4 years. So that might sound impressive, but you have to realize Tom Conboy graduated in less than 1 dog year.
Where is he tonight?
His wife is ill.
Oh.
Actually, I was gonna say, I sent him that to, see if I could get him to come. And he said, I said, George, Tom really graduated in, 6 or 7 years. That's not true. He said, don't say that. It's too late, come on. George played URI tennis and served as a co-captain of the team. The rumor from John was that Tutel didn't think you could do it alone, so we had to give you a co-captain. Never.
It's not true.
He's handsome, but he's not real quick with it. So after graduating from
You are right.
You remember where we are? Yeah. Anyway, just didn't find it here. So he had to go in the Army, but the Army wasn't quite ready. So he took a job as a lifeguard, little convoy.
There you go.
And so he wasn't always that tall. And then, since Uncle Sam still didn't call, he actually took a job with Sigma Pi. He was gonna be the Western Regional representative. So all you gonna thought, how do you do the history?
Now you know.
There you go. So finally, Uncle Sam did call. So finally, Uncle Sam did call. Belgrade, the show. Areas. So that meant,
Western Union.
wow.
We all got them.
I just got a real letter.
What did it say, dear asshole?
Dear asshole, you know that
Your presence is requested.
Fort Benning Grant. And so all the Cal Boogie.
Ooh. Is that what was there? Where was I?
Thanks, man.
John is going to talk about the Army.
Ooh,
Me?
you. Get away from that camera.
Somebody run that camera on, John.
That's all right.
You got a podium here if you like.
Oh, that's okay.
So an Arab and a Jew walk into a bar. Sorry.
You get much better.
After 2 years of study, the National Science Foundation announced the following results for America's recreational preferences. The sport of choice for unemployed people, incarcerated people, is basketball. Sport of choice for maintenance level people is bowling. Sport of choice for blue collar workers is football. Sport of choice for supervisors is softball. The sport of choice for middle management and upper management is tennis. And golf for obviously CEOs and presidents. George was a tennis player. Just goes to show as you advance in life, your balls get smaller. I met George on the tennis court. I had just picked up a tennis ball. I put it in my pocket. I'm talking to George. He kept staring at the bulge in my pocket and finally said, "What's that?" And I said, "It's a tennis ball." And he said, "Oh, that must hurt. I once had tennis elbow." Anyway. George reported for advanced infantry training in late August 1963. Next slide, there we go. His orders were to report to the 24th Infantry Division in Ansburg, Germany. John Cookingham still doesn't comprehend how he ended up taking a 21-day troop ship. Cookie took a 21-day troop ship to Vietnam to become commander of a Mekong Delta ammunition dump. And George went to Bavaria, not far from Munich in the famous Oktoberfest and resort areas, like Berchtesgaden and Garmisch. I should have read this first, Joe. These areas were made for guys like Cookingham, Murney, Menard, Villano, etc. Not for George. Conservative, straight-laced George. But George learned a few things after he graduated. He went to his commanding officer. He wanted a 3-day pass to play tennis and to drink. And his commanding officer said, "You can't do that. You just got here. You have to do something spectacular." The next day, George showed up with an East German tank. And he got the 3-day pass. He didn't tell anybody how it was done. But when he went out drinking with his buddies, he told them what he did. He went to the motor pool. He took a tank, drove it to the East German border, and yelled across the border, "Anybody want a 3-day pass?" These jokes are as corny as George. That's funny. So now, 19. And on top of that, the Army sends George to the he went to the Norwegian Infantry School to learn how to cross-country ski. Does that sound like something that you should be doing in the middle of Vietnam? George's take on this was that it was tough duty. He did have a problem skiing. He became very ill one time. And it was probably from some of the German ladies that he had seen. But anyway, the ski patrol on the slopes, he was puking like crazy, took him to the hospital. The doctor said, "You are really very ill, and we're going to need everything. Urine, stool, semen, and blood samples." And George, of course, said, "Well, here, just take my underwear." He was on a what's this, Joe? George is taking this as a
Multinational.
And I quote, "I was on a multinational special forces team, and having skied all day and exhausted, I fell asleep in the snow and was barely able to move from the workout. I almost froze to death. I had to endure a 30-kilometer biathlon ski race with wide cross-country skis, heavy boots, and a rifle on my back. And at night I had to sleep in igloo-like snow huts," unquote. Does any brother here who may have had to endure some hardships in their military or civilian careers actually feel sorry for him? As a personnel and supply officer, George went to Greece and Turkey. This picture shows George managing Army recruitment girlfriend efforts there, as well as having a strong hand in the Army transportation system.
One of the girls
Second lieutenant?
I put in for Greece after officer maintenance, whatever, in the Air Force. The guy next to me put stateside. He got Greece, and I got sent to Rome, New York. You have no idea how bad this place was. All the girls had left by that point for bigger cities.
George spent the next few years traveling to Greece and Turkey on maneuvers, and the rest of Europe on R&R. Maneuvers in Turkey? I'm Greek, by the way.
No.
George left the Army after 39 months of active duty with the rank of captain. The Secretary of the Army awarded George the Army Condemnation Medal for meritorious service in the field, ski country. And that's the end of what Joe gave me. I do want to say one thing. George was probably the kind of student I wanted to be. You were probably the kind of athlete I wanted to be. You were probably the gentleman my mother wanted me to be. And everybody has a lot of respect.
Jerry Knoll has, no, I'm sorry, stop there. It's not your best. Mike Baudet has something to say.
From?
And you can come up here, Mike, or you can.
No,
So you-
being
you wanna
in the
get
classroom,
your-
usually learn how to project
There you go.
all the time. Well, actually, this is from Phil Fergadamo. Remember, Phil, he's a lawyer, so this is all lawyer reads in legal talk all the time. And I'd like to thank Joe for the invitation to Sigma Pi Fraternity. Appreciate it being here. Rest home. Rest home. Rest home. Rest home. That's later on.
That's appropriate.
So listen, Phil, I guess Phil is in Florida right now, Jerry?
Yes, if not, he's on his way.
He's on his way, so I'll read in extension. So from Phil Bergadamo, class of 64. Hey George, I feel really left out since I can't be there to witness the remarks being made at your roast. In spite of all the ribbing and retelling stories of the old days at 99 Upper College Road, you obviously deserve the honor bestowed by an illustrious Sigma Pi brotherhood. Joe kept asking me if I had any good stories to tell about you. I kept telling him that I am too old to remember. That's good. Then I realized you are older than me. Is it really 50 years since you graduated? Wow, I guess I could have made up some zany tales and no one would ever have known the difference. The fact of the matter is that you were one of the sane ones who, as Sage, tried to control the rest of our Animal House gang. And it was long before the movie came out. We can never forget the toga parties and the thumper parties in the barn, much less the Greek week chariot races. Was it yours or Jonas who went ballistic when they found out they dressed in the secret Sigma Pi ceremonial robes to pull a chariot?
It's me.
But it worked.
We had ceremonial robes?
How we got that?
They're ruined.
Not secret anymore.
We got that wagon from.
Yeah, we still have some.
I had my 49 Dodge, and we went out into some farm place. I remember.
Sharpness?
Alan.
Had to be.
Could had to be. And we bought the old wagon, attached it to my 49 Dodge, and I was driving, and Philino was in the back on the wagon.
That's a problem.
Of course, he didn't know the difference. I mean, what was going on. He just had going faster. I said, "You're gonna be kidding." And the thing's going like this, and I didn't think we we're gonna make it to the house again. And it's, it ended up in one piece. I don't believe it. It was unbelievable. Some ride. Incidentally, Alex was my classmate in high school. He was also my roommate, unfortunately, at Sigma Pi for many years. I like to be the one to toast him because I have a lot of stories for him. And George is at the other extreme, completely at the other extreme.
Thank God.
Yes, thank God, right?
We need some balance.
So he said, can you picture us Sigma Pi seniors repeating those antics? On a more serious note, over the years, you kept a bunch of us in touch who worked in the Boston Province area. And I thank you for hosting those occasional summer get-togethers with myself, Gordon, Barron, Eisenberg, Zelag, Nault, and a few others I can't recall. Just getting that senior moment, I guess, yeah. As a part-time faculty member at URI, I often park where the old house stood. Wow, anybody remember where that is?
I do.
Yeah.
We all do.
I go by with my wife and I say, to the parking lot, visualize the house over there. Brings back happy memories of those carefree days. Boy, oh boy, we didn't know how good it was we had back then. Just think you could get a 4-year education for only $4,000. Guys back there drooling, huh?
And the only responsibility was to copy somebody's homework.
Yeah, Yeah, go into our files, we had all the files.
Yeah.
Great file.
Study for a test the night before.
The other option was dumpsters.
Yeah.
It's the only thing we tried to save was the files.
Yeah, but
These guys don't know what Vimeo are.
Yeah, that's right.
Times have sure changed. I wish you and all the brotherhood in attendance tonight all the best and have a great evening. Fraternally, Phil Vergadamo.
Very good.
And Al Clements has another open letter. Thank you.
I roomed with Paul Ferry at Sigma Pi, and Paul wasn't able to be here tonight, but he sent this message from George. Unfortunately, I will not be attending your roast tomorrow. I wanted to write to tell you what a positive impression were on me and others at the frat house. With many distractions and a lack of maturity by many of us, you provided a terrific role model, reminding us,
All of us.
for example, that studying and good grades were important. For some, this is a radical concept that is not universally embraced. Your interest in tennis, dressing nicely, and dating attractive women, we all noticed that. Were also traits we admire. This having been said, you are a difficult subject for a roast, but I'm sure the brothers will come up with some less than stellar moments. I hope the roast members are not too hard on you, and that you have a terrific time. My best, Paul.
Well, we had Carl Engel, who was supposed to attend this roast, but he couldn't make it today. But I tried to embarrass him into coming up here and speaking, and it just won't happen. Okay, I learned my lesson. I'm going to do this myself. We've got a few other comments from brothers, George, so I hope you appreciate this. Dave Smith. George was an all-around great guy. That's an
Did he know?
I say,
He said it was.
we caught that. He was a fine fraternity president, and he ran a house meeting very professionally. Yeah, that's a good comment. House meeting, right? Professional, great. Harry Eisenberg, next slide. Can't make the roast. Give my best to George. By the way, am I supposed to know who George Gray is?
Sounds like it.
I had to know Harry.
Next slide.
Little league.
Steve Jonas. George, sorry I could not be there, but I'm trouncing through Europe during the month of October. It was really hard filling your shoes as fraternity president. No, really. You left a pair of black wingtips behind. I thought I struck gold, but your feet are too big. Fred Sapanic. Don McCourt and I were roomies in a cubbyhole by the stairs in the old house. I did see George walk by once by my door. Rick Tibbetts. Can't make the roast, so give my regards to George. I remember being thrown out of a few bars with some brothers, and I think George was one of them.
I doubt it.
I have an acting gig on the West Coast, so I won't make the roast. Did this George Gray live in the house? Will Calvert. I was big. Oh, next slide. I'm sorry. That was Rick.
That's Rick Tibbetts.
Yeah.
Next slide.
That's Chris Murray. Next slide.
Here's Will Kalberg.
Will Calvert. I was big, but George was one of the brothers I looked up to. Get it? Next slide. This is a girl from the student union. I think this was referenced earlier. George Gray picked me up at the union and talked me into cutting class to go sailing on his boat in Tiverton.
She's 70 now.
I love
She was 14 when he met her.
Two good reasons why we should date again. Steve Jacobson. As a past Sigma Pi president, I know what character and fortitude it takes to be a leader, and George fills the bill. Didn't he win the Yankee Conference Tennis Championship all by himself?
All right.
Paul Farragut, unable to attend, although I did see George at our 50th reunion, where I had to listen to him tell me how single-handedly he led the reunion committee and did all of the planning himself. Bob Shaw. We'll be in South Carolina during the roast, so I am sorry I will miss it. And I'm not being able to ask George why he didn't pick engineering over history with a minor in English. Rich Byrne, next slide. And the slide after that.
That's Jacobson.
And the slide after that. Oh, I'm sorry.
God.
That was, oh, I skipped one, I'm sorry. This
Who's
slide
that
is-
skinny guy next to George?
Dick Hilliard. He never passed me the ball during intramural basketball.
I wonder why.
Never recognize him today.
Next one.
Who's that guy on the right?
Rich, what, you can go back a slide. Just a,
That's Rich Barron. Keep talking.
yeah, yeah, there's Engel, Reynolds,
Craig.
Shaw on the bottom, Simpson, Gray, I don't know who that guy is, and Hilliard. Who is that guy? Anybody? Which one?
Lenny
On the
O.
left,
Left
on
on.
the left.
No, no.
No?
Not
he
that
wasn't
year.
in the house at the time. Bob, when? Bob
Panther
George
Panther.
Hill.
Is that
Yeah.
Panther?
This guy right
Yes,
here.
Panther.
That was
Down
a
on the court.
Down the court.
Panther Panther.
That was Doug before
Panther.
he said supersize.
That's right. That was before McDonald's went to supersize, yeah.
You know, I used to think George was the tallest guy in the house, but take a look at Doug.
No, Doug's standing on his toes.
Next slide. Standing on the plate.
Yeah, I'm standing on a plate.
Rich Barron.
That's all pleasure for you.
This was referenced earlier also. One of my favorite memories of George is of the chariot race, when our chariot broke apart during the parade, and we had to enter the race with a little red wagon. With George and a few others acting as the horses, dressed, get this, in our Sigma Pi ritual robes. My memory is that George objected strenuously to the official garb, but somehow was talked into it, much against his better judgment. Can't remember what fraternity won, but it wasn't us. Ted Potter.
Oh, God.
I
Stud.
wish I could be at George's roast. I wish you the best, George. George was always a model for the brotherhood. All of us had many good times at the Sigma Pi house. George did scold me once for being too hard on the pledges, next slide, and using cuss words. This is Ted Carter. I wish everyone a good time, and I hope George enjoys the roast. And now Jerry Knoll has a few words to say.
Well, we're, first of all, hope the Red Sox carry on and do a good thing.
Right on.
Now, he throws garbage, but it's amazing. Okay. We're gonna pick up when George has left the Army and has transitioned over to civilian life. So he left the service after 39 months of active duty with the rank of captain. Is that normal?
No.
Yeah.
More?
Should have been general.
All right.
Gotta stay in longer.
39 in captain? All right, let's just make sure, all right. And he arrived home in Tiverton on Thanksgiving Day, 1966, and started to look for a job. Okay, well, that's good. That's what George wrote.
He's still looking.
Well, he is not. He is not. He is not.
He retired now.
So, first of all, first comment is let's offer a tip of the hat to George for 39 months of serving his country, including at overseas deployment. Now, I remember having a conversation with George about the time that he spent in overseas. And he said that one of the jobs that he had, as part of his Army assignment was to settle up with local property owners when the U.S. Army maneuvers would somehow go askew. Now, is it the tank drivers couldn't drive tanks, or they could take outside the buildings and this kind of stuff?
Mostly fields, farmers' fields.
Farmers' fields, I see. So George ended up being kind of like the paymaster. So remember, paymaster and cash, and, right. So maybe this would be a logical place for George to seek employment afterwards, okay? Okay, so just keep that in mind, all right? But in the meantime, continuing with the Army theme, we have the fact that George kept an active interest in the Army and had a hand in organizing a local militia. That's right. Sure. We don't know what the real purpose of the militia was. And as we will, as I'll get to, right, as I'll get there in a bit, we'll talk about the militia one more time, but we'll simply leave the point right now that perhaps there was nothing sinister or covert or anything else, but this was just a harmless exercise, and we have proof that George, in fact, was involved in the militia. Okay? All right, so he found a position in Boston with Fiduciary Trust Company as Assistant Personnel Manager and started in February 1967. Spent 38 years with the company and retired as Vice President of Human Resources. Now, I think that's, well done, George. Good job. Now, Carl, you've had how many years with Carty?
45.
Okay, so, someone in Carl's, class, there aren't very many of us that I think can claim that many years of service with one employer. So George, kudos for that too. And actually, if you count his other real job, which was 3 years with the Army, that's only 2 employers for like 42 years. That's pretty good.
That's good, real.
All right, good. Well, now, let's talk about fiduciary trust for a minute. Because George always used to call this the bank. Right? The bank. Well, was it a bank? Did they write auto loans?
No.
They didn't write auto loans. I thought banks wrote auto loans.
Not this bank.
Well, no.
They're right fiduciary.
How about, did they, if you opened up an account, did you get toasted?
No.
No toasted if you opened up an account. How about, can I get a fiduciary trust credit card?
No.
No. Wow. Did they have any branches?
No.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Somebody burp?
Was it a bank? Was it really a bank? I mean, no auto loans, no credit cards, no branches,
No coach.
no toasters.
Yeah, it looks like a real bank.
Right,
An
and
unregulated bank.
now, and would they hire a history major at the bank? I'm not sure this was a bank.
An army major.
I don't. So I don't know, I'm a little bit puzzled here, George, about whether this was a bank, but, Okay. Now, George also hinted that the bank worked with big money. That's true, right?
Correct.
So, well, if it's big money, and if we go back to thinking about 2008, what happened with banks with big money in 2008?
Bye-bye.
Right, we went into distress. did Fiduciary Trust have any distress in 2008, George?
No.
Okay. You were the personnel guy, right?
Right.
Anybody in the Matt family working for the bank?
No.
No, well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So, we have to give their banks their due. You know, I'm assuming that this was a special bank, okay?
No jail.
No, right. Now, George, did they ever let you handle money?
No.
No.
Did they handle personnel?
Did you ever load the ATM machine?
Didn't have one.
Didn't have an ATM machine. My God, what kind of a bank is this? This is incredible.
A real one.
A real, well, it could be, it could be, so, you know, well, anyway, we must have proof here. Obviously, there is a certificate with a signature and fiduciary trust. George, obviously, it was a bank, and we have to take some solace in the fact that, you know, that's what it was. Okay, so, in 1968, George writes that he met his future bride in Milton, Massachusetts,
Can't you get those in
and they got
Staples,
married,
those
and
certificates?
there we are.
The
There we are.
certificates, they come in
And
staples.
I can attest to that because I actually was in the wedding party.
Do my computer.
So,
Yeah, you don't even have to
and-
buy them anymore.
I'd love to ask Peg how things were going, but she knows that this is happening tonight, right, George?
Yes, she does.
She does, but somehow she chose not to.
on the left.
Right. So, okay, so, I will say that from what I remember, the wedding was a class act, okay? It's a class act, but I understand that, Peg had most of the responsibility for making sure everything went off all right.
100%.
100%, okay, so in the same way that George didn't help Bob Menard with any of the party stuff at the house, he was very fortunate, and he left everything to Peg to take care of on the wedding, so that was great. Okay, first house was in Reading, Mass, where they lived for 8 years, and now we get back to the Minutemen again, because while he was in Reading, George organized the Reading Minutemen, a volunteer group who outfitted themselves as Revolutionary War colonists who lived to fire their brown vest black powder muskets. And they went to the 1976 bicentennial, they walked past the president on the bridge, and George even got his picture in the 1975 issue of Yankee Magazine. So, and we have, you know, this is great. This is, you know, here. Now the question is, are they still around? You think these guys are still around? Well, I'm going to suggest to you that they are still around. And we have proof of that in the fall season and in the summer season in Foxborough, Massachusetts.
That's right.
Now, who shows up at Revolution soccer games and Patriots games and stands at one end of the field?
George.
Cheerleaders.
Not the cheerleaders.
It's not Brady.
What are you looking at?
It's these Minutemen, okay? They're all at the razor. Now, have you, you know, and every so often, the camera will pan over to those guys. So, when the camera pans over the next time, I want you guys to take a very close look to see who's there. Is there a tall Minuteman with a brown vest musket at that end of the field? I don't know, George. I think there's something, I think, you know, you've got an extra job there, and, you know, you get to do free games, you know, you get free games, I'm sure they'll let you guys in for nothing. So, George is there, take a good look. And for the weeks that he's not there, this is keeping with Belichick's policy of having guys on the taxi squad. Well, George is on the taxi squad for the Minutemen. They only call him when they really need him. Well, anyway, they finally moved from Medfield to Norfolk. George is now in a condo, and he's living life well. His two daughters are married, they've got kids. They're living in, one has moved all the way to Chattanooga, Tennessee, another one is still in Massachusetts. They're married and life is good. And George still gets involved with historical societies and libraries. And I think, you know, given the fact of your background, that's fine, George, but I don't know if folks realize that when George was on the Medfield Library Board, he did champion a special collections room that is a secret even to this day.
I like to call it instructional videos.
Before George gets to refute any of this information, Doug Simpson wants to talk to him about his tennis time.
Oh, yeah, I do. I do realize it, but I
Stand up, will you?
I will. Well, I'm obviously supposed to talk about his athletic accomplishments and him being the co-captain and captain the next year of the tennis team. And I'm supposed to go over, you know, how well the team did, and I will reiterate what I have here. 6'3", 6'1", 6'4", 6 love.
What's that?
5'4" scores. Tennis scores. So I just want, I've done it, okay? No, George did a great job. I remember George and I standing next to one another. We were the lead horses in the chariot race. Is that not correct, George?
You say so.
Just remember whatever I say is correct.
I didn't want to be
No
there.
guns.
But I don't remember the road. I think that was the year before. But anyway, you know, I've looked and, you know, everybody's talking about what a classy guy George is, and I have to reiterate that he is a classy guy. And he is a grandfather, what, 4 times over?
Correct.
And, you know, you didn't realize, but I was talking to your wife, and I have a story. And this is a story. This involves his grandchildren. George had taken his children out to dinner with his wife, I think, and they were sitting there. And, you know, it's a very nice establishment, as fiduciary people like to go to nice establishments. And, you know, they bring the food. You know, it's a very nice family get-together. And the waitress brings the food, puts it down in front of the children. And George being a class act, his grandchildren are class act too. The grandchildren, the granddaughter, what is her name? Elizabeth. Yeah. She wants to say grace. So, George says, yes, go ahead and say grace. And of course you think it's going to be a little low-key. No. Goes, you know, God is great, God is good. Let us thank him for our food. And let's hope Grandpa buys us ice cream for dessert. Amen. You know? And so, everybody hears it, and they're all chuckling and nodding their heads, except this one older couple, you know, lady sitting over there. She says, she doesn't even know how to say grace right. Oh, man. And Elizabeth hears this and is very upset by it. And she almost starts to cry. And George leans over and says, you know, don't worry about it. She probably didn't have ice cream as a child. So, you know, let's, you know, just let it go. And, you know, the children buck up and they have their meal. And sure enough, what do they have for dessert? Ice cream. Ice cream. Now, being the class act, you know, they sit down to dig in and have their ice cream. Little Elizabeth picks up her ice cream, walks across, and sets it down in front of this lady, and smiles at her and says, You need ice cream, you grouchy old bitch. Another class act. Another class act.
How old was she, George?
She's 2. She can barely talk.
Great story.
But, you know, we've gone on and on about what a great guy George is, and he certainly is a great guy. But me, you know, there's maybe something hidden somewhere, right? I did my Joe Friday. You guys know who Joe Friday is?
Oh, we remember.
You guys do, but the guys
They don't.
behind you don't.
The young guys don't.
No, they don't. That's a
Sergeant.
detective. So I did my detective work. I went down here to the police station at URI. And I went through their archives from 1960. I should have gone to 59, might have found something better. But 1960 to 1963, and lo and behold, what do I find?
George?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, he's in the archives. It would appear, according to what I've been able to glean from the records, that George, and I have to sort of interpret a little bit, he was probably on a date down the line. You guys know where down the line? Do you guys say down the line still? We had a party down the line because, you won't believe this, but the house was dry. So we weren't supposed to have any alcohol, right?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Right. So we were down the line, and we had a party. And there was probably a little bit of alcohol, a couple beers.
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Fine. And obviously, you've heard how George has a way with the ladies. He probably had a gal with him. And it's probably brought her back to the dormitory or wherever the heck she was staying. And, you know, he probably didn't get enough of what he was looking for. So he obviously went out, was driving around down by the old ag building, and there was a pumpkin patch down there.
You didn't do it with us.
No, no.
And he obviously stopped and got a pumpkin.
All right.
And he cut a hole in it, and he pulled off to the side of the road, and he didn't think anybody was looking.
This was online.
And then he's having sex with a pumpkin.
Richard Shatner showed up?
No. And the police showed up. And he didn't even know that they were there. And so the policeman walks up, taps on the window. He rolls the window, not the power windows, he rolls the window down. And the policeman looks in and says, "Sir, are you having sex with a pumpkin?" And George looks at him and he goes, "Shit! Is it after midnight?"
Cinderella, you are also very smart.
George is a class act.
True story.
True story.
Yeah, but not George.
That would be a true story for you. George is a class act, and we're proud to have him as a brother.
The speakers. You have to realize that we did not have any time to rehearse any of this. So it came together, and now George is gonna come up here and refute some of those arguments.
I want to hear the pumpkin.
It was a squash.
Pumpkin story was true, but he got the wrong name.
What was their name?
Didn't say. This was a year ago Halloween where I live. We had a Halloween party. So it's again tomorrow night. We're wearing the same outfits. So. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody involved tonight, especially Joe. Jim, Andy, and everybody else here who helped make this. It's not a roast about me or any one individual, it's an excuse to get together, rehash old times, and remember the past. So, thank you all.
I can't remember yesterday.
I've been retired about 8 years now, and I keep myself pretty busy. We're living in a new condo community. My wife and I have taken up cribbage, and I'm now on the town traveling team. I get to go out of town, play other teams, that's kind of fun. I have 4 grandchildren, 2 in Massachusetts, 2 in Chattanooga. So we travel to Chattanooga 3 or 4 times a year. I'm still pretty involved in, I was a history major, I never got to use it for 40 years, but I do a lot of genealogy work. And the town I used to live in is Medfield. I was the president of the Historical Society over there for about 8 years. And one of the projects I'm working on right now, Medfield lost 7 men in the Civil War. Lost, died somewhere, and they never recovered them. In the last 2 years, we found 4 of the 7. Found one in Chattanooga, buried at the National Cemetery, and they actually, the town historians did an article on him yesterday, and because October 29th, which is next week, will be the 150th anniversary of the Battle of Wauhatchie in Chattanooga, and this was where this guy died, and he got lost.
Good job.
So we're looking for the other 3. It's quite a project, so it's fun when we can find them and bring back that story to the town. So that's one of my projects. I was on the planning committee for the 50th reunion this year of the class of 1963, so I got to come back 4 or 5 times this winter, meet with former classmates, plan the event, and it was a lot of fun. I think the highlight of the graduation weekend is marching as a class in front of the grads going into the Ryan Center. There were 3,200 graduates this year.
Ooh.
We had, I think, 600 or 700, 3,200. It was unbelievable. And we got a nice round of applause. That was a lot of fun. So be sure you go to reunions as they come up the next couple of years. I think you'll really enjoy them. Paul Farragut, Al's roommate, was at the reunion, and I got to spend some time with him. I learned an awful lot here in 4 years with you guys. You taught me some pretty hard lessons, and I was able to carry them throughout life. We had some good times and we had some difficult times, but we got through it, and I'm a better person for what you guys put me through. So, thank you all for coming. It's good to see everybody, and maybe you guys will come back in 50 years and share your memories too.
50?
Maybe not you, but the guys behind you.
Right here.
Thanks very much, guys.
We're gonna have raffle off some of those.
Yeah, so anyone who hasn't bought their tickets.
Would you hustle up, I'm gonna do it myself, and buy some tickets, because you may win one of those prizes. Thank you.
How much for what?
They're a buck a piece, 6 for 5, 15 for 10.
All right.
You wanna say something? Sure. Hey, can I get your attention, please? We got somebody from the current house would like to say a few words on events coming up.
All right, so I am now in charge of alumni relations here.
What's your name?
My name is Austin Blaze. I pledged last semester. I'm 19 now, sophomore.
19.
Years old.
You're a youngie.
And I just pledged last semester, and I'm a brother now, and I'm very grateful that you guys came here, showed us, the bond that you guys created back in the day. And I want to have that bond, just like you all do with my brothers and my pledge class and everything like that. So we would like to have more events with alumni, and we're trying to plan something for maybe later this semester, possibly next semester. We'd like to do it with all age groups, not just the older class or the younger group of guys. And we're wondering if you would all be interested in that. And I was talking to some people about it, they said maybe at the Spain would be a good place. I know that's a common restaurant that everyone loves around here, very good restaurant. And also, I'm gonna get your emails from Andy, he'll be sending emails, so please check your emails. And then also, we're gonna have possibly raffles like how you guys are having. We're gonna try and raise some money for our fraternity, because right now we are in debt. I don't know if any of you know this.
How much?
And
A little under 18,000.
a little under $18,000.
Minor.
It used to be worse.
Yeah, I know.
Now, that's
Only
no
done
one's
well.
fault who's at our fraternity now. We'd like that to be known, because we're trying to get out of debt.
It's Obama.
But
For you,
because we are in
Yeah,
debt.
Yeah, this guy over
So you're the fiduciary guy.
Now that I have to deal with it.
Yeah, so
He doesn't have
All
that, he
help.
doesn't have a credit card.
any money donated is not going to go towards beer or anything. We want to let you know it's going towards keeping this fraternity alive, keeping our brotherhood alive, and keeping our alumni alive. And we love to have events like this. I learned a lot tonight, talking to all of you. And I was proud to call myself a Sigma Pi, because all of you have created the name for us. So just check your emails. I want to let you know I'll be in contact with you guys. Hopefully we can get something going. We're gonna have probably, I'm gonna get some things donated, maybe some live auction stuff that we'll do. I know you're all sports fans, of course. You like the Patriots, the Red Sox, so.
Red Sox.
Let's see what we can get. And hopefully I'll see you all back here at another event, maybe either this year or next year. So I just want to say thank you for coming.
Do you know how many brothers are alive from this chapter?
From this chapter, I do not. I have a list of brothers, and I have a list of emails that we sent to them. But I mean, I can count and say how many we have. Later on, I'll let you guys know. Right now, we only have 43 active members. But I don't know the exact amount of more that we have. But I mean, I'm gonna go through all that information and let you guys know, and hopefully everyone can make it. I don't have an exact date.